Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's FailRace episode with Bumpy on GTA 5 and, well, civilians climbing over a car. Yes, left the casino to find there was a party going on top of his track. I'm not quite sure why the game decided to spawn the people on top of the car. Can't say I've seen that one before. Normally the casino's exploding whenever I spawn in there, but either way, not ideal really. Minty Pigeon up next on Forza Horizon 4, racing around on a frozen lake where the Jaguar hits a small bump and goes for not just a straightforward roll. The good old Forza physics decides the Jaguar just wants to keep spinning and rolling and rotating before coming back to land on its wheels. Not a bad landing actually. All things said and done, not a bad landing at all. Normal sort of crash you expect to see from bloody dirt games, but there we go. Speaking of rally stuff, anyway, SMS Racing Team on WRC8 has just finished a rally and ends up coming second. When they drive onto the podium scene, however, I mean, that's not quite how you do it. That's definitely not quite how it's supposed to work there. It's not where the car should have been. Yeah. Not gone according to plan for the Hyundai. It's gonna take some effort to get that car unwedged now from the from the stop bit onto a Dirt Rally 2 next. This time we've got a Skoda running a smidge too wide. Now we saw a Jag going for a roll record. The Skoda's got it beaten. The Fabia going for a big tumble. I actually slowed this down when editing to try and count. I think it does 14 rolls in the end. I'm pretty sure that beats Pastrana's roll record. It's not a record for us. We had some 40 odd when messing around on GTA, but for a rally car, that's pretty damn good going. The car does still amazingly work after all of that. As it heads off towards the next hairpin. Speaking of rolls, 4-bit player up next on Project Cars 2 gets things a little bit wrong, clipping an outside wall with the Lotus Formula 1 car, and that spirals its way through the air. It's a big flip for a little Formula. I say little Formula 1 car, but yeah, big flip for what was just the smallest brush on a wall. Captain Nugget up next, also on Project Cars 2, having just about survived through turn 1 at Spa, which is surprising. On the most part, a relatively clean run through turn 1. However, it's not so clean up the next section. It was one of those, wherever you went, you're never quite sure where that, I think it was a Porsche, ended up spinning back across the road, and the car we're on board with is now very much upside down and pretty much out of the race. T-Strike up next on Wreckfest, playing around with the racing trucks, with the big rigs. Everything going relatively according to plan. However, this one particular corner is too much for the AI in the trucks. They can't slow the vehicles down enough, and everybody ends up out wide, clonking the wall. There's someone almost fell over the barrier. One vehicle almost made the corner. Almost. The green truck, that's definitely not making the corner. There's so many trucks littering this, we can't really see. Well, the pink truck made it through. That might be the player, to be honest. There's another big rig definitely not making the corner, just plows into the side. There's a lot of wrecked trucks. In fact, going on further back, there's 2 trucks missing front wheels as something else makes it along. Yeah, there's trucks. I think they got reset from being stuck up against this wall, but they're all now missing wheels. 3 trucks with missing wheels, all very broken. I think they're out of it. Clio player up next with NASCAR 2003. Now, this was a modded circuit, making a kind of figure 8 circuit for the game. However, the crossover bit, you expect there to potentially be crashes, but not that sort. Yes, there is always a chance, of course, with figure 8 racing. Let's face it, that's part of why you watch figure 8 racing. In this one, nope, just 2 cars going side by side, minding their own business, getting into an awful lot of trouble. Watch it on board from the, I think it's 31. There's a slight bump, I guess, with the way the mod's made, and I guess if you hit that wrong, it just sends the car flying. From the other vehicle, from the Zero car, that was alongside as they head towards this bump, and that has an equally brutal time, but it's almost so fast you can barely see where it's got. It's got fired out of shot across the road. Lammy up next on F1 2012, driving Force India in Australia. Fairly decent start, heading down towards turn 1. Now, sometimes the AIs do funky things at the first corners. Sure, not normally this funkier thing, as literally everything fell apart. The player gets a penalty in all of this, despite not being It had a small tap on the back of a Ferrari, but not really involved. The race gets red flagged. Just all the wings and the wheels fall off the cars as they have the smallest bit of contact through turn 1, but there we go. We're on to race room next with some touring cars at Macau, and well, this circuit's notorious for trouble. It's not normally there that we get the worst of the trouble. There are much narrower places for the entire circuit to be blocked. I mean, this is basically the widest place on the bloody circuit, and they've managed to block it. And again, not player fault this one. AI's lost the rear up ahead, going through the fast corner. I guess cold rear tyres on these front-wheel drive touring cars, and they just all slide across the road, and no one has anywhere to go. One of the Alphas actually managed to spin a lot further down the road as well in that one. But yeah, Macau is well known for track blocking shenanigans, but that is quite impressive. That is very impressive indeed to have managed to block at the widest part of the circuit. That, though, is going to be it for this episode. As ever, if you have clips you'd like to submit to this series, you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description. At the very top of the page is the FailRace clip submission section, and in there you can find all of the rules and how to submit them. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.